attack dog on Trump, at least. She's known for a unique skill at getting under Donald Trump's skin, one tweet storm at a time. But can she help with the campaign's enthusiasm gap, particularly with progressive millennials? Senator Warren joins me now. Senator, welcome to the show.
Thank you. Good to be here.
Let me start with the issue of what it took for you to get excited about Hillary Clinton, because I thought what was interesting is it seemed for much of the spring it was some hesitance, but then once you got in, you got all in. What convinced you? Is it been Trump that motivated you so much, or is it Hillary Clinton?
Okay, look, Trump is a great motivator for people like me because I don't want him anywhere near the White House. But the truth is that Hillary Clinton has run on the most progressive agenda in history. And she has made very clear commitments about what she will do as President of the United States. So the way I see this is, for a progressive like me, that means it's our job to help get her elected. And then once she gets elected, it's our job to help make her a successful president in enacting that agenda. That's how we build a progressive movement.
You know, if there was one issue area where it seemed that Secretary Clinton struggled with during the debate, frankly, it was about one of the few issues that seemed to be debated on Monday night. It was on trade. Let me play the excerpt. I want to ask you about it on the other side.
Sure.
I did say I hoped it would be a good deal, but when it was negotiated, which I was not responsible for, I concluded it wasn't. I wrote about that.
So is it President Obama's fault? Is it President Obama's fault?
Even announced. Look, there
Secretary,
are different,
is it President Obama's fault?
There are
because he's pushing it.
There are different views about what's good for our country, our economy, and our leadership in the world.
And that was their back and forth, of course, on the Trans-Pacific Partnership trade deal. She is now against it. The question is, what can she say to give voters more comfort that she's truly against this and that she will always be against this deal? Because there is a lot of skepticism out there considering what she said about the deal during the start of the negotiations of it.
Yeah. During the negotiations, she said exactly what she said in her book. But, you know, she was quite explicit once the TPP came out that this is not the deal. And she has said that she will block it if she is president of the United States. I mean, there's no ambiguity here. She has been absolutely explicit about it. And we've got it, you know, you got it on tape, you got it on video multiple
Let me ask you
times.
This, though. Do you think the deal is recoverable? I mean, you know, President Obama, as you know, makes the case, and there's a national security argument for this that says, hey, one of the best ways to check China is to create a deal like this with other Asian nations so that China doesn't, you know, dominate the rules of the road when it comes to exports around the world. What do you say to push back against that argument?
Well, so right from the beginning, I would say, so why is there this huge investor-state dispute resolution clause right in the middle of it? Because all that is about is letting multinational corporations challenge state government regulations. That has nothing to do with China. It has to do with a set of high-powered multi-billion-dollar corporations that were whispering in the ears of our trade negotiators that will help them in getting rid of regulations around the world that they don't like. It has nothing to do with China. Take out the ISDS provision and then let's talk about trade. You know, ultimately, the TPP is far less about trade in the way that you and I once thought about it, tariffs.
Right.
This is much more about regulations and who's going to write regulations around the world. And that is not a security issue with China. That's a question about who government works for and who our trade deals work for. And I'll just be blunt. That's why I'm completely opposed to the TPP deal. Right. And Secretary Clinton has been really clear on this one. She is not going forward on TPP.
You know, when it comes to the issue of trade, though, the person that has the most passion about this issue between the two candidates is Donald Trump. And some of his appeal to some of his voters who are truly feel as they've been impacted by bad trade deals, that's why they're with him. Well, what do you say to Secretary Clinton so that she knows that, hey, the people that are with Trump are with him because of these trade deals that they haven't trusted previous administrations to negotiate.
I think she is acutely aware of that, but I think the other part of this is Trump has no ideas on trade. You know, it's not like Trump says, let me explain this and what's really happening in these trade deals and why it's an economic problem and why it's a regulatory problem. I mean, Trump is good at fulminating. He's good at waving his hands and raising his voice. But he has no fundamental idea. He just kind of does this magic. Oh, well, I'm going to negotiate a better deal. Better deal how? What exactly is your idea, Donald Trump, for trying to do better trade for the United States? There's just no there with him.
Let me ask you about going after Trump. You have,
Sure.
I'm just going to use your words. You have said, pathetic, coward, sham, fraud, small, insecure, weak, two-bit dictator, thin-skinned, money grubber, models himself on an insecure narcissist, makes me sick. Those were just, I think, 8 tweets that I quoted there. What's the line for you that you won't cross? Howard Dean obviously put out a tweet that just speculated that he has a cocaine problem. That's crossing a line, in your opinion?
Look, I realize that I get excited, but it's always, frankly, around substance, and I really do mean that. Donald Trump is a thin-skinned bully, and that's not just name-calling. I actually think there's a whole lot of evidence that that is exactly what he does. Yeah, you're right that I call him a money grubber, because Donald Trump has made it clear, for example, that he thinks that not paying any share of taxes makes him smart. You know, like if all of America were that smart, then we would have absolutely zero money for our schools, for our highways, for our police, for our firefighters, for our armies. Donald Trump is all about Donald Trump. And everything that I talk about, sometimes with a little color to it, everything I talk about is substantively what Donald Trump is and what Donald Trump stands for.
This may be an obvious question and answer here, but does it bother you that it sometimes takes name-calling to get attention to this?
You know, look, it's a rough and tumble world out there. I get that. You know, we've all been on both ends of this one. But the truth is, Donald Trump has serious substantive problems that we need to talk about. First time I went after him in tweets were about his businesses and his business dealings. You know, his whole claim was, I am qualified to be president of the United States because I have been this very successful businessman. So the first set of tweets I ever did around this was around just pulling that apart and saying, wait just a minute. You're a guy who inherited a fortune and then expanded it by cheating people, by declaring bankruptcy and leaving workers unpaid. That's not showing the kind of business acumen that we really need in a leader of the United States. For me, for me, here's the distinction. This is not about talking about Donald Trump's small hands. It's really talking about Donald Trump's failure to release his taxes, his bad record on business, what he says about immigrants and Muslims and Latinos and African Americans, what he says about women. It's about Donald Trump's record.
I want to ask you about Wells Fargo. There's been some. You called for the resignation of the CEO, a clawback. The company looks like the board has asked for the clawbacks that you were calling for, but no resignation yet, and there's no criminal investigation started yet by the SEC that I know you called for. Where is this headed? What do you think's realistic to happen next?
So let's just be clear. They have not done a full clawback yet. All that the board has basically said is all the things that would be coming to him that are not yet vested, he's not going to get access to. Real clawback is to say that money that you were earning based on the fraud that was going on underneath your nose has to be given back to the company and to the investors.
You guys, calculated it at $200 million, I believe.
And up. Exactly right. So, first of all, we need a more serious clawback. The second is, let me just get this straight. 5,200 employees lose their job, and he still keeps his job, multi-million dollars going forward. And the third is, I want to see investigations. Investigations by the SEC and investigations by the Department of Justice. let's get all three of those done and then talk about John Stumpf's future.
All right. I know you have a plane to catch.
I do.
And I will let you go. Senator